Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's home group questions. It's great that you can meet together to be able to discuss what was said last Sunday. So on Sunday, I was preaching from Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1 to 7, a very well-known passage that I'm sure we're all familiar with. And we're going to be looking at a couple of these songs of these prophecies over these Christmas periods. And today I was focusing on the coming Messiah. And it's a very interesting passage. There's a lot going on in this passage. And I feel like we need to understand the passage in its wider context. Because if you read chapter 8, you see how there is destruction, there is darkness coming on the people because of their disobedience. But then in chapter 9, there is good news. The light has come, and this light seems to change everything. This light brings this Messiah, this King who will govern well. He's going to be a wonderful counselor. He's going to be a mighty God. He's going to be an everlasting Father. He's going to be the Prince of Peace. Great news for the people who have just heard bad news. And so for Christians, we understand that this Savior is Jesus Christ. And he's been fully revealed to us today. His death and resurrection on the cross means that it's good news for us. No longer do we need to be conditioned to the bad news of how we were before Christ. No longer are we destined for doom, destined for darkness because of our sin. But now there is good news, not just for us as Christians, but it's good news for the world. Because Jesus is alive, he's active, and he still is a wonderful counselor, showing us how to live. He's a mighty God. He's breaking through in our lives and over things that are holding us bondage. He's an everlasting Father. He wants relationship with his children. And he's the Prince of Peace. He's able to give us a deep shalom, a deep peace, even in the midst of darkness. So I hope throughout this week, you can maybe reflect back on that passage and just really reflect on the goodness of God, the good news of Jesus Christ, and how that impacts all of us today. So I only have 3 questions for you to think about, to pray over, and to be challenged with as well. And these are my 3 questions. So I have 3 questions for you all to think about. The first question is this: what stood out for you in the sermon or from the passage in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1 to 7? The second question is, why is this passage good news for the world? And the last question is, out of all the attributes given to the Messiah, which one resonates with you the most? Is it Wonderful Counselor, or Mighty God, or Everlasting Father, or Prince of Peace? So I hope you had a great conversation as a group, as a home group. And I just pray that you were able to look at these questions and think about some applications on how this passage applies to you, how we live out this passage, how we learn from this passage. So I just pray that throughout this week, this message will be on your minds. Not the bad news that's going on in our world. And yes, we need to pray for them. We need to seek God's face for some of the stuff happening in our world. But I wanted to remind you as Christians that we have a great news. We have the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that should be the message that occupies our minds in this dark world. Have a great week. God bless.